This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
From the torch here, the incident with the Titans garnered TNA quite a bit of mainstream publicity. Several newscasts across the country showed clips of the incident with some mentioning the TNA Wednesday night program. A late night West Coast edition of ESPN Sports Center also showed the clip, and several newspapers also mentioned the incident. The publicity from this, in a weird way, is one of the most important things that ever happened to TNA. Fair to say?
Absolutely fair to say.
So let's talk about what the reaction and reception was locally. Obviously, when you've got an NFL football team doing something, again, to your point, in off season, and I just want to add a little more context to that. Like great friend of the show, Cole Kubelik, just started a new morning show in Birmingham with former Alabama quarterback Greg McElroy, and they're on the big sports station there in Birmingham, the Jocks. Here's the gimmick though. People who are listening to that show in Birmingham, guess what they want to talk about in July? Same thing they want to talk about in January and in April and in September. Football. There's only so much of that content you can literally fish out of thin air when nobody's practicing, nobody's negotiating contracts. There's no game to recap last night. There's no game coming up 5 days from now. So you're just searching for content, and this becomes the topic of conversation on sports talk radio nationwide, but it has to be at a fever pitch in Nashville. And of course, in Nashville, everybody listens to 104.5 The Zone. Back then, I don't think 102.5 The Game was around, but it at the time was arguably, I don't even think it's arguable. It was the largest sports station in the country as far as the percentage of the audience that listened to that station. And here you are in the middle of it, the hometown team at a hometown show. And now it's being discussed on the biggest radio show around. It's a big doggone deal locally, right?
Huge. And you have to live in Nashville to sort of understand the sports placement in the community, because prior to the Titans and the Predators, we were a college town. Vanderbilt, there's a local, Lipscomb and Belmont, some schools some folks have never heard of, but it was lots of college basketball, lots of college football, just college sports all around. Early 90s, the Titans come on board, huge. Then the Preds, and that was a game changer. 2 sports franchises in a town that never had it. The college scene was still hot. And so, we're also Music City, so lots of music everywhere. But the sports talk station created that niche. There's a guy named George Plaster. There were some names that were just household names. And then, like you said, we're coming off of any NFL cities out there realize when you get to the Super Bowl and don't win, and it's your first time there and only time, it was just huge news. And this was the core of the team. Really looking forward to the season to come. It was just Titans own the city in so many different ways. It was front page of the Nashville, the Tennessean, our local paper. It was every talk show, just a buzz going around, obviously before Twitter and all that. But I mean, everywhere you went, that was the talk of the town, in such a, I don't want to say a positive way, but it was so newsworthy. Nobody got hurt. Hey, there's our guys. That's our offensive line. They're together as a unit. And the sort of the byline, or not a lot of, it was the clip, but oh man, the Titans went down to the wrestling and kicked everybody's ass. That's sort of the story that came out of it.
Yeah.
If you watch the clip, okay, it was a little brawl, but as the story grew in stature, it was the Titans offensive line. It's the fish story.
Yeah.
By the end of the story, they beat up the entire locker room and came out victorious, and their coaches are mad, but man, we can't wait till game 1. I mean, it's that deal.
So talk to me a little bit about, well, before we talk about that, I do want to just add context to what we're talking about. You want to talk about highs and lows. I think you should go start a wrestling company if you really want to experience them. You're on a high because this is the way you close the show. You've got Super Bowl athletes getting involved. You're going to be all over every newspaper, radio station, whatever, every sports section around, even Sports Center, which at the time is a lot bigger than it is now.
Yeah.
And you're 1 week removed from being told, oh yeah, you haven't made any money. In fact, you've lost it all. We had our numbers wrong. That's 1 week apart. Like oh God, I'm destitute. We've lost all of our money. What are we going to do? Shit. We got to cut every cost we can, man, baby. We just got to get a life raft to get out of here. Holy shit. I'm on ESPN and everywhere else 7 days later. That's unbelievable, Jeff.
Yeah. Wow. When you put it in that context, and that was, well, it just sort of, I can't even say that. It just goes with the territory of growing up in this wacky business. But no, it was something that my upbringing, I will say that. And look, hindsight's 2020 and looking back to over 20 years ago, but knowing I'm in it for the long haul. This is prior to the Scrushy situation.
Let's talk about that. I know we're going to circle back at some point. Scrushy's still involved. Are you having conversations with him about the Titans? Does he send you a text? Do you give him a call?
I don't know, say the next day, but we certainly send him the clip and, hey, this is what your investment it did, that type. Here's the buzz out of it, but not making it because, I didn't know what was to come out of this angle. I really thought, okay, we did it, the following day and we're going to milk it. But by the time the next show came around, we're not getting the Titans in a match. We had moved on. I didn't know how it was going to play into the future of TNA, which we'll get to when you want to. But at that point, it was, okay, great angle, great spice up. It wasn't even formatted, but the story of Jeff bitching about not getting a title shot, that was another layer of the onion that we can add to it. But let's move on and let's get into, we're moving to the fairgrounds. We got to build out that studio. And Keith Mitchell, you got to make sure, I'm in those conversations on how we're going to shoot the studio versus Municipal Auditorium. And, there were so many other things going on and talent coming in. And, obviously our budgets, we were trying to figure that out. It's going to go weekly. I mean, there were so many different things on the horizon. I didn't really, not that I should have, soak in the moment, but by probably 48 hours, by the following Monday or Tuesday, the Titan story was over and gone. So the high was over by the weekend.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.